Hi, everybody. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller, and with me is.
Hey guys, I'm Julia Mijas.
And today we want to tell you about the archetype of Pallas Athena. She is an asteroid goddess, meaning that she is an asteroid in the asteroid belt associated with the archetype of Pallas Athena. She is the warrior woman and wise woman. And so today we want to tell you some things about how to interpret Pallas Athena in a chart, maybe some thoughts about what your own Pallas Athena might mean to you. So, as an asteroid goddess, that means that she is one of the four largest asteroids in the asteroid belt, along with Ceres and Juno and Vesta. They are planet sized, and they have a periodicity of about 4 years. So, it takes them about 4 years to move along the zodiac. So, they're faster than Mars, but slower than Jupiter. And really, you can treat them in all ways like a regular planet. Like if you are used to interpreting Venus or Mars in a chart, you can basically interpret Pallas Athena in very similar ways, use the same orbs that you would use, etc. So in the mythology, and this is really where we go when we want to understand an archetype, is we start with the mythology. In the mythology, Pallas Athena, her birth was what we call a parthenogenetic birth, which means that she was born out of one parent without the benefit of another parent. And so, as they tell it, she sprang from the head of her father, Zeus. She was kind of his brainchild, if you will. And as she sprang forth, she was brandishing a sword, wearing a full suit of armor, and uttering a battle cry, whereupon she instantly became her father's favorite, and he placed her on his council of advisors. She is seen as a goddess of wisdom. There is so much more to her than this. Everything that I'm describing to you now is basically the patriarchal cultural roots of Pallas Athena from the Greek and Roman times. She has deeper roots that go into matriarchal times, which are more feminine oriented. And as a result, she is a very complex goddess with an androgynous nature. When Pallas Athena is a strong feature of a chart, you may find an androgynous personality, somebody who is trying to balance what you might call stereotypical masculine traits and feminine traits within themselves. That can sometimes look like being strong. It can look like being soft, and balancing those is not easy. So, Julia, I know that your mind is bubbling right now because I can see the wheels turning. What thoughts would you like to throw in right now about this archetype?
Hmm. Well, Pallas Athena, she's just such a fascinating figure, and she really just kind of broadens our notion of what femininity is,
Yeah.
and she because if you even look at old statues of her in ancient Greece, she's always in armor. She's always, and that was just attributed mostly to men because men fought in war back then while women stayed home. And so there's a sense, and if you have Pallas Athena strong, it could mean that you have it like on an angle or right next to your sun and moon. So it's a big integrated part of your personality. People who have it generally tend to kind of have both their masculine and feminine sides of them sort of in balance, which gives them a level of kind of autonomy, the fact that they can draw from both of those archetypes within themselves.
Yeah, autonomy and independence and wisdom and androgyny are very strong Pallas Athena themes. She really transcends the patriarchal notions of femininity, and yet she has feminine traits. And this is what the wisdom springs from. It's that combination of being able to be strong, yet being able to be soft. Um, so let's think aloud right now, Julia, you and me, about what does Pallas Athena look like when she appears in the human personality as a positive trait and also as a negative trait. Let's say, somebody has Pallas Athena rising or conjunct the sun. If I see that, especially in a woman's chart, I think this is a woman who, if she is already comfortable with her feminine side, is wanting to develop some masculine traits, but may get imbalanced at times and be sort of armored, emotionally armored, or defended, or protective of herself, or feel like she has to be ultra strong in order to get the respect that she deserves. And it may take some time for her to make her way into that state of balance that Julia's talking about. Now,
Hmm.
if Pallas Athena shows up in a man's chart, like a male identified man, her influence can be just as strong. She can help him to feel a strength that is mixed with softness and to find his own way to a balance. I also think that Pallas Athena is a goddess of civilization. Her virginity is a symbol of the unbreachable city wall. She is a guardian of civilization. She is a goddess of wise governance. And so you will find that Pallas Athena can be featured in the charts of both men and women who want to ultimately place themselves in the field of politics and governance. When Pallas Athena shows up as a negative trait, it can, again, show up as somebody who is sort of brittle, guarded, defended, wanting that respect and that autonomy, but, not sure that they're going to get it. Or somebody who aligns very much with the hierarchy, with the, how to put this, like the patriarchal hierarchies, because of the way that Pallas Athena was her father's daughter. Even in the mythology, she says that she comes down on the side of the male instead of the female, and she was a goddess of men. Men worshipped Pallas Athena. So sometimes she can kind of occur as a sort of a patriarchal female. Julia, what other thoughts do you want to throw in here?
Yeah. Well, here's a thought, and I'd actually be interested in hearing your feedback on it. Do you feel like when you see Pallas Athena strong in a woman's chart, maybe even a man's, that maybe that woman identifies more with her father or male family figures?
Absolutely.
That's a, yeah, that because that would be, that's something that's like a connection I just made, but I also wanted to see it with your experience.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
because
she
of
has a
how,
lot to do with mentoring.
ah,
Yeah, because of the way that Zeus cultivated this daughter, as if she was a man. He gave her that respect, he gave her pride of place. And yeah, so I think there's a lot to that. Any other thoughts?
hmm. Just in terms of the negative expressions of Pallas Athena,
Mm.
I also imagine that seeing it strong on a negative level in someone's chart might also make them just not like independence can be such a positive quality, but too much independence just means that you're kind of living in a vacuum a bit, which can, learning to sort of depend on others and have others depend on you might not be something that necessarily comes easy to a strong Pallas Athena.
Yeah, it can signify a sort of an avoidant, uh, what is it? They call it avoidant attachment thing, where you just don't even want to get close to people
Hmm.
because you're afraid that being close to others might suck you into a codependent situation, which would undermine your independence.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's definitely a Pallas Athena theme. I'd like to throw out some quick thoughts here at the end of this video about what Pallas Athena can be like in the different elements. So starting with fire, when Pallas Athena is in a fire sign, I think this brings out her warrior nature, her fighting spirit, if you will, and definitely that love of independence. Julia, you want to throw anything in there before we move to the next element?
Yeah, in fact, I think fire, and again, give me your feedback on this. I think fire would probably be the element she does best in.
I think she really likes to be in the fire signs. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. In Earth, Pallas Athena would be more solid, I think would be much more about, things like wise governance and utilizing structure. And she's one of the ways that I like to understand Pallas Athena is by contrasting her with Mars, because these are the two warriors of astrology. Mars is the masculine warrior. He's the aggressor, the campaigner that wants to take new turf. But Pallas Athena is the protectress of the city. She is about maintaining turf, defending, protecting, and not at all about aggressing or campaigning. And I think Pallas Athena in Earth is very much about what are the wise structures that keep a society and a city and a whole civilization running. So she's
Mhm.
very pragmatic in Earth signs. And then in air, I think this is really a great place for Pallas Athena to shine
Yeah, I
with
get
her
that.
wisdom, because of the cerebral nature of air
Right.
and the social nature of air. Do you want to
Yeah.
put something in there?
No, that was just absolutely my next thought, just how intellectual air is, and she is a very intellectual archetype.
Yes, absolutely. And that's definitely one of the things I think that separates her from Mars, because Mars is all more about gut and instinct and drive, whereas Pallas Athena is much more cerebral than that inherently. She's more strategic. And then in water, I think this brings out another aspect of wisdom that's more intuitive in its nature,
Oh, that
uh,
makes sense.
more empathic, more compassionate, more in tune with the mysteries of life.
Yeah, and I would think that maybe water isn't her easiest element.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
just
Because
because
it's
that
so
water
murky.
tends to want to connect with other things, it absorbs others, and she's a pretty independent planet. So there are aspects of her nature which seem a little incongruent with the element of water to me. But I can see the wisdom, the water wisdom, being a big factor, and even in Scorpio, I could see some of the more warring characteristics, and power games too, which she might have some element of as well.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely think so. Well, that's what we have to say today about Pallas Athena. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got a lot out of it. You can find so much more great content by us on our website, pandoraastrology.com. There's a blog there with hundreds of articles about the signs and planets. You can learn so much there on our website. And you can always find great stuff on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology on YouTube. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye bye.
Bye bye.